During the 10th century BC, when the Queen of Sheba is thought to have lived, the city of Marib was a great commercial center, a stopping point for merchant caravans that crisscrossed the desert. It was a place to barter goods and exchange stories.
It's a culture that has an immensely rich oral tradition. And still you go out into the desert and at Bedouin campfires you'll be amazed by the stories you will hear.
Traveling across this vast open landscape, merchants were an invaluable source of stories, gossip, and news. It would not have taken long for word to have spread of King Solomon, ruler of Israel. Stories about Solomon had spread far and wide. The construction of his temple had become famous all over Arabia for its grandeur. Renowned for his divinely inspired wisdom and his ability to speak with animals, it was said that Solomon could even command spirits. The Ethiopian holy book, the Kebra Nagast, says that news of this formidable king reached Sheba from a traveling merchant.
She heard of him being a very knowledgeable person. So therefore, in her attempt to build a very strong nation, she felt that she needed to go there and then learn from his wisdom, learn from his knowledge, so that she could come back and build her nation, even to make it stronger.
How Solomon heard of Sheba is explained in the Quran. In this version of events, Solomon's pet raven has been sent to find a missing hoopoe bird, a prized animal that has become lost in a far-off land. Guided home by the raven, the hoopoe tells Solomon of a distant oasis ruled by a rich and beautiful pagan queen.
Well, at this point, Solomon wonders why someone that beautiful and that rich doesn't know who the real God is, and further has never come to him to pay tribute. So he sends a letter hung around the hoopoe's neck, who delivers it to Sheba. She then takes it to her council of courtiers and says, "What should we do about this?"
However the letter actually reached Sheba, it seems clear that the message was an ultimatum. Sheba must pay tribute to Solomon or risk his wrath. The Bible records that Sheba's servants packed many gifts for Solomon, including gold, precious stones, and spices. But perhaps the real reason for her visit was not to bestow gifts, but to negotiate trade.
I think you look at the Bible and its account. There's some stuff about the power of Solomon and Sheba admiring his wisdom. But if you just scratch that surface just a little bit, you see the record of a trade agreement and the vast amount of goods that she brings Solomon. And in first listing them, the account does not say their presents. It just says she brings them. So I think there's two things going on. They exchange presents, but at first she is bringing an enormous amount of trade goods and saying, basically, here you are, let's work out a deal.
One of the goods the ancient Sabaean kingdom possessed in abundance was frankincense, a fragrance the Israelites used in their religious ceremonies. Frankincense can still be bought in Yemeni markets today. Harvested from trees that only grow in the southern Arabian Peninsula and parts of East Africa, the ancient Sabaean kingdom would have had a virtual monopoly over it, generating unprecedented wealth. In thanks for their prosperity, the Sabaeans built their god Al-Makka, the largest shrine in all Arabia. It was the center of their universe, because without Al-Makka's blessing of rain, their whole fragile world would collapse. As the excavation progresses, a Bedouin worker makes a dramatic discovery.
Approximately 6 minutes ago, the workman was cleaning up in here, and he came upon, as you can see down here, a very large frieze with ibex heads.
No one has seen these carvings for 1,500 years, but they are in superb condition, a promising sign for Bill.
This is a real exciting moment. I'm almost at a loss for words. Wow. The ibex is one of the two zoomorphic representations of the deity Al-Makka, He's generally represented here by the bull in the inscriptions and by figurines, but here we have him represented also by the ibex. The importance of the inscription is tremendous also because it mentions a king's name.
Wendell Phillips' expedition in the early 1950s never got past the entrance hall.
After just 4 months of work and under much harassment and house arrest, this is what they revealed. We don't know what's in the Awam enclosure, the Great Circle, the Ovide, the Holy of Holies. We are mandated to get this sand out of there as fast as possible with the best and the latest scientific methods in a well-mannered, routine scientific way.
With only weeks to conduct their excavations, Marilyn's team have harnessed the latest technology to peer directly beneath millions of tons of sand. Team member Brian Moorman is discovering a temple far bigger than even Wendell Phillips imagined.
50 years ago, when Wendell Phillips first came to the site, archaeologists' tools were rather limited, and you certainly couldn't see beneath the surface. Archaeology involved taking a look at the artifacts that were on the surface or any structures that were above the surface. Today, we're able to use geophysics to pinpoint locations that might be of interest and limit the amount of digging and limit the amount of disturbance and the amount of effort that goes into a site. The ground-penetrating radar work that we do here allows us to map the features underneath the surface in 3 dimensions. So we're able to reconstruct all the structures that are on the site as if all the sand had been taken away.
The radar works by sending pulses of energy into the ground. Different structures beneath the surface reflect this energy in differing amounts, allowing the temple to be mapped. With data from the survey, the sprawling layout of the Maqam Bilqis can at last be recreated. It reveals a half a dozen man-made structures that still lie untouched beneath the surface. But what purpose these structures serve and what they contain can only be confirmed by old-fashioned digging.
You know, who knows what we're going to find? You know, we didn't expect to find over here in this trench yesterday this ibex frieze. Who knows what's there?
Although frustratingly close, Sheba and her people remain just beyond reach in their sandy tomb. The tense situation is not helped by the increasing uneasiness of the guards. The team is running out of time. After days of scanning the sanctuary of the Queen of Sheba, team member Brian Moorman has uncovered a significant find in the temple enclosure.
When we were doing our ground-penetrating radar surveys here, we found a very small but very distinctive reflection coming from this location, some kind of underground void.
There are numerous buildings inside the sanctuary, but this pile of stones represents the most important feature that we can easily understand inside the sanctuary. The structure is a well, and the well here was used for possibly getting the water for ritual ablutions. It's approximately 3 meters below the surface, and we're just about to begin the excavation to try to uncover the wellhead.
This well would have been the very epicenter of the Sabaean Empire, and a place of utmost fertility god, whose blessings were vital to the life of Marib.
In this kind of harsh environment, water